Hi, my name is Hunter Thibodeau, and this is my regional presentation on Nome, Alaska. The topic of this presentation will be the availability of well-paying jobs versus the current high cost of living and how locals in Nome use subsistence to alleviate the struggles of rural living. In this presentation, I'll go over the jobs that are available in Nome, the high income of the residents that live there versus the high costs of living in rural Alaska, and finally, how residents of Nome are using subsistence to alleviate these costs. There are quite a few different kinds of jobs in Nome. Eric Stimfel, in his article titled The Nome Census Area From the Gold Rush to a Service-Based Economy, talks about how local government in Nome provides the majority of the jobs, which is very different from urban areas such as Fairbanks and Anchorage, Alaska. They provide approximately 37.3% of the jobs in Nome. These include things like teachers, healthcare workers, and public administrative jobs. There are also different sources of income in Nome, Alaska, with flying people and cargo out of Nome and into Nome being one of them. The main purpose of this is to keep goods and services flowing into the community while also allowing the residents of Nome to fly from village to village or village to city. Mining for gold along beaches and rivers is an example of something that is still done in Nome, however, it is much less prominent than it used to be during the gold rush. Community development organizations also provide quite a bit of income to the residents of Nome. Their main purpose in Nome is to boost the economy and make it easier for residents in rural Alaska to live there. A couple organizations that do this would be the Norton Sound Economic Development Corporation and Rural Alaska Community Action Program Incorporated. Utility companies also provide many jobs in Alaska, in rural Alaska, and one of the main ones is Nome Joint Utility System. Their goal is to keep heating fuel, electricity, and water running to all the residents' homes in Nome, Alaska. Now that we've talked about many of the jobs that are available in Nome, let's go into the income versus the cost of living in Nome, Alaska. According to Point to Homes, a website which has pulled data from all over the United States, Nome has a very high median income at over $103,500 per year, which is much higher than the national average. The average cost of living in Nome are about 13.4% higher, and this can be found on Best Places, a website which pulls information from government entities and other surveys that organizations across the United States have done. An example of this would be the Nome gas prices, which are $5.29 per gallon on average, while Fairbanks, Alaska gas costs about $3.30 per gallon. Nome, Alaska also has very high average costs of housing at $325,300 for the average house, while an urban place like Fairbanks, it costs about $40,000 less at $287,878 for an average house. According to Ritchie in his website Electricity Rates by State, Alaskan electricity prices are over 50% higher than they are in the rest of the United States at 24.74% cents per kilowatt hour, while the national average is just 12.72 cents per kilowatt hour. We've now gone over the high income versus the high costs for the residents that live in Nome, Alaska. But how do they use subsistence living to combat these high prices? According to the Alaska Department of Fish and Game, people in Nome, Alaska use hunting, fishing, and harvesting in order to combat this. They also state that while subsistence living does make it easier to live in rural Alaska, it is not a form of welfare, as many of the higher income individuals participate more in subsistence living than the people in lower income situations. The people in the higher income actually go and harvest and fish and hunt and then bring the food back and provide it for the lower income individuals. This is due to the culture of sharing in rural villages in Alaska that the natives have developed. Some of the things that they hunt are big game animals like moose, caribou, and muskox. With fishing, they usually are fishing for salmon, tomcod, crab, and even seal. And harvesting would just be berries and greens. This brings in about 375 pounds of food per person per year, which is very substantial. It helps boost food security, especially for those in the lower income homes, by providing the food for those that need it and keeping them from having to go to the store to purchase items that would cost more due to having to import them from other cities around Alaska and the lower 48. This saves thousands of dollars every year for individuals in Nome, Alaska, and allows their money to go towards things such as gas, electricity, and other necessities to keep their homes running. According to the University of Alaska Fairbanks, in their article Subsistence and the Informal Economy, this helps provide a balance to the high costs in living and makes it much easier for the locals to live in rural Alaska. In this presentation, I went over the jobs that are available in Nome, the income versus the costs of living in rural Alaska, and finally, how subsistence living has helped the residents maintain their lifestyles in Nome, Alaska. Thank you for listening to my presentation.